Regret is a disease of the mind. It is a phenomena of an undisciplined mind. If you have a regretful mind, you will regret anything, even if you have done the right thing. Let me explain this with a story. Once there was a monk. He was traveling by walk with a group of young disciples. It was a pleasant journey for everybody, as the monk was entertaining his disciples with the laughter, fun and frolic. Having traveled many miles, they came to the bank of a river that they needed to cross. At that time, the master decided to convey a message to his disciples. So, before crossing the river, he called the disciples and gave each one of them a piece of paper. And he said, "Children, do you see a lot of sand around? Each one of you can carry some sand and wrap it up in the piece of paper and keep it with you. But you have a choice to carry the sand or not to carry the sand. But remember, if you carry the sand, you will regret. And if you don't carry the sand, then also you will regret." Having heard the instructions, the disciples were very confused by the Guru's peculiar advice. The disciples looked at each other very puzzled. Since it was their master's instruction, some of them decided to obey and carry the sand, while the others ignored the instructions and decided not to carry the sand. The master was silent, seeing the children's reactions. After doing so, they crossed the river and continued their journey. After having walked for about an hour, the master called all the disciples around him and asked them to open the wrap and see what has happened to the sand. Those who carried the sand looked at the wrap and they were so amazed to see what had happened. They found that the entire sand that they carried miraculously turned into pure gold powder. Now they have some gold powder as their own. Now when those disciples who disobeyed the master saw what happened, they regretted why they did not carry the sand. And those obeyed and carried the sand also regretted why they didn't carry more. This is the way with regret. If you have a regretful mind, even if you have made the right decision, your mind will still find some loophole to regret it. Now, what is regret? Regret is the memories of the past pains, failures, losses, blunders, interfering with your present course of action. The three regretful vocabulary that we use are I could have, I would have, I should have. You must forget these three vocabulary. People who started a business regret having started the business. They think they should have taken up a job. Those who have taken up a job regret taking up a job. They think they should have started a business. People who got married regret having got married. People who did not marry also regret by not getting married. People who had few kids regret having many kids. People who decided not to have kids at all regret why they did not have kids. People who took up a professional study like medicine regret taking up medical profession. People who did not go to settle overseas regret why they did not take the opportunity. Those who left the country regret having left the country. People who are renting a house regret not buying a house. People who bought the house regret it was cheaper to rent. The number of regrets can go on and on. There are 7 things you got to remember about regret. Number one, your regret is a defect of the mind that you need to attend to. Regret has nothing to do with whether you have done the right thing or not. If you have a regretful mind, even if you have made the right decisions, your mind will still find some loophole to regret. Number two, your regret creates self-pity, self-hatred, self-criticism, and negative self-talk. And that really destroys your self-esteem. Number three, your regret is a huge energy guzzler. The feeling of regret is often associated with a lot of negative emotions like anger, jealousy, envy, and so on. And negative emotions consume energy. It makes you exhausted and gets you tired very easily. Number four, regret over the past destroys your focus and concentration in the present action, and it makes your mind restless. Number five, remember, what you have done is fait accompli. You cannot rewind your time back to the past and correct it. Time only moves forward. Number six, regret over your past paralyzes your ability to think in the present and take decisions for your future course of actions. Number seven, brooding over your dead past makes you ignore the present action, and it becomes an impediment to your future success and happiness. The antidote for regret is to let your intellect rule your emotions and bury the dead past. When you look at your past blunders, pains, losses, and failures emotionally, you regret. But when you look at your past blunders, pains, and losses and failures rationally, you learn from it to make a better future. Next time, when you are supposed to do something important in your life, do not procrastinate, do not postpone, do not ignore it, and thus do not regret it later.